Welcome to AkronHipHop.com, where we paint positive images of our people every day. My name is Debra Calhoun. I teach at Kent State University in the Department of Pan-African Studies. Hey, Hiram, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm all right. I'm pretty fair for a square. Hey, listen, I am excited. If
Great.
You're not looking at me right now,
Great.
Because usually you look at me and you look kind of like Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
Hey, listen,
Except I don't have the glass.
You had a glass. Hey, listen, tell everybody what we're doing here today.
Today we're on the topic of understanding the Black experience. And today's work, we're going to go visit some women. And these are women who are not the only ones who are stars in our universe, but these are women who, at the most important time of our existence, moving from the plantation to the sharecropping field to the urban environment, these women help set the pace. They help keep us in check. They helped us organize, and they definitely made the African community in the United States better because of their work. Now, there's about 4 or 5 sisters I want to talk about today, and I'm going to refer to my notes. But again, each and every one of these women have books on their own and have been written about extensively. So there's works on them out there in the historical, digital, and hard book universe. So pick any one of these women, pick all of them, study all of them, and let's learn from them. The first woman on my list is Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin. Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin was a suffragette. She also, in her life, was able to, with her resources generated from her husband's business, because St. Pierre Ruffin is not the everyday Jones and Smith name. She married a man from Martinique and who had French in his background. But she used, after he passed away, his earnings to help further the work and advocacy for the African community. She helped organize the 54th Regiment, the 55th and 54th Regiment from famous Glory fame that we all have heard about and know about. She was also one of the first African American women, to publish on her own a woman's newspaper called The Woman's Era, where they talked about issues of women and urban reality and existence. She was also organizer of the National Federation of Afro-American Women, an organization that was national in scope, started in Boston for the purpose of organizing women. She's part of this legacy of women who, in that period between 1870 and 1925, took seriously the business of organizing. And the struggle and understanding was that if we organize the women, we can then help be a better contributor to our respective community. So she organized the National Federation of Afro-American Women, which segued into the National Association of Colored Women, eventually to be headed by the illustrious Merritt McLeod Bethune. She also was a publisher. She was a journalist. She was a civil rights leader. And in fact, she was one of the signatories on the organization of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And we will, at some later point, talk about that Niagara Conference segueing into the NAACP at a later point. But she was one of the stars of the 17 who helped organize that organization and put her money again where her mouth was. Another woman on my hot list, my hot 5, if you will, is Dr. Anna Julia Cooper. Dr. Anna Julia Cooper was born a slave, but she comes out of slavery and she becomes the first woman of any persuasion to talk about what we call, in today's term, the intersectionality of race, gender, and class. That is the understanding that these 3 oppressions superimposed upon each other affect the African community, and especially African women. That is what we think is so new now with intersectionality. Dr. Cooper, Anna Cooper, was talking about this at the turn of the century. Her most famous classical book was A Voice from the South, written in 1892, where she talks about this particular study and struggle and work of women to try to make a way out of no way. She was also active in and one of the only female Lyceum members of what was called the Negro League at the turn of the century, where the intellectuals of the day met to discuss politics, economics and society. She was the only woman invited to be part of that club of men. She was one who was able to intellectually battle with W.B. Du Bois, with Booker T. Washington, with Alexander Crummell, with Frederick Douglass, with Martin Delany, and with Sojourner Truth and Frances Ellen Harper. Dr. Cooper was also signatory and stellar in that she was the only woman invited to speak at the first Pan-African Conference in 1900. So you had to know any and everybody and know what you were talking about to address that organization. And we know that the Pan-African Conference 1900 would segue into the Pan-African Congresses that would be organized from 1917 up to 1945 with the first 5 Congresses. And then later on, I think in 1974, where there was a 6th Pan-African Congress. So Dr. Cooper set it off. She was one to be an advocate for girls and female education, because she felt that not only the men had to be educated, but we also need to educate and focus our energies on educating women. She was able to, with her network of other sisters, Mary Church Terrell and Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin, able to form the triad of women who organized for women's rights. Another woman I want to talk about that is necessarily not the last, but a contributing sister in the sisterhood of organizers is Madam C.J. Walker. Madam C.J. Walker, we know of her through her hair preparation projects and products. She, remember, came up from slavery and was able to organize a business beauty empire. She was the first female millionaire in the United States. And though Madam Walker was not able to be boots on the ground, so to speak, with the other women's organizations that were active then, she was able to put her money where her mouth was. In fact, 2/3 of the money she left when she passed went to women's organizations, went to the YWCA, went to the United Negro Improvement Association, and to girls' endeavors and organizations. So these women that I mentioned, even though they had their own spheres of influence and works that they were working on, they gave time to give to what we know of later as the Black Women's Club movement. Madam Walker, when she understood and realized that she wanted to diversify her financial empire, she went to Booker T. Washington and she throws the idea at him of this idea of pyramid structured multi-level marketing. How would that go? Because she wanted to go to Africa and do the same work. Even though Booker T didn't accept what she did and didn't give his blessing on what she didn't let that stop her. And again, she grew her business to be the pyramid type marketing empire that we know of today. Madam Cooper bought a building for Marcus Mosiah Garvey when he didn't have anywhere to speak in New York City. She bought a building for him to speak in. And she gave money to UNIA as well as to the other organizations that I've mentioned. So she used and put her money easily where her mouth was. Now, collectively, these women that I've mentioned were part of what was called the Black Women's Club movement. And that was a section of organizing of women coming together, appreciating and understanding the new urban reality of the African American. We know that with the Great Migration, moving from south to north, many had never been in the city, but there were problems in the city, and those collection of organizations organized by these women help acclimate the new arrival to an urban reality, help you understand the mechanics of clean water and sanitation and washing and taking care of orphans and making sure that women had education and that they had places to stay, because many tenement houses at that time would not accept single women. They made sure they went out and got the donations to build apartment buildings and lodges and locations for those women to be successful. So with that, I'll end our work for today. Look up any of these women that I've talked about. They are all stars in our universe of organizers. And I will close by a quote by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and he says all that they said while he was alive. We must organize now more than ever before, because organization decides everything. Thank you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. On YouTube, remember as you watch this video to share, and share again. Thank you, and I will see you next time. From me and Brother Hiram, thank you, and thank you again.